Boker Tov, Rabbi.
Good morning, Boker Tov to you. Welcome, welcome. Let me just get organized here and welcome some others. All right. Okay. Oh, that looked pretty good, I think. All right, let us get started in a moment. All right. Good morning and welcome to Mystical Teachings from the Tanya. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome on Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse. Anna from Hungary, good afternoon. Alan is with us from all the way from the suburbs of Montreal. In Dollard, welcome. Davida and Liba from New York, welcome. And Lisa is with us from England. David and Bachia from Montreal, thank you for joining, as always. Simcha from Florida is with us. Deborah, I don't remember. She's from somewhere. Diane from London, Ontario, good morning. Jan is with us from Mexico. Boker Tov. Joachim, I forgot from where. Welcome aboard. Inar, Boker Tov. Also David from Sacramento, California. Good morning. Andrew is with us from New Jersey. Rena from Colorado. Good morning, folks. Jenna, good morning. Eugenia from Calgary. Margalazata from Poland is with us. Tonya, beautiful. We have Vilma, Bachia, Sina, Ben, Iris, Josh, Ariane is with us. And we have from West Texas, the Spanish Jewess, Miriam is with us. And from Germany, Emanuela is with us. All right, folks. We're continuing in chapter 44 with the type of love that we need to, well, the Alter Rebbe actually questions. Is it honest? Is it practical? This type of devotion. What is the devotion that we spoke about yesterday? A devotion as a child, the poster child, I guess you could call this the poster child, who is more dedicated to his or her parents than dedicated to their own life, ready to put their life at risk, or to do for the sake of the love that they have for their parents more than they have for life itself. That's the metaphor. What does that mean for us? It means that God is our Father, right? And that we're ready to do for Him, to connect to Him, to do for Him, and that's more meaningful and valuable to us than life itself. So the Alter Rebbe says, well, this might appear to be dishonest, delusional. Really? You really are holding by that? That's what you're thinking, meditating upon? Is that not something that is self-delusional? It's not the truth. That you really believe that? Or really living by that? So the Alter Rebbe says, actually it is honest. Why is it honest? And this is an interesting idea that we need to wrap our minds around. We think that honesty is merely, honest with what I say and what I feel. That I say what I feel. That not necessarily is honest. That might be how you feel, but that's not the honest truth about you. Your feelings are not really the definition of you. They're not what is your it's your character. That's true, indicative of character, absolutely. But it's not the true you. There's a greater truth that's a part of your soul. And it is the absolute truth that we are ready to serve God in such a virtuous way based on the hidden love that we have in our soul that is covered over. So even though I may not live that way, I may not really truly feel that way, that I'm ready to sacrifice, that my connection to God is more important than life itself. But that's the truth of our divine soul. So it is honest. It's not honest through and through, But then, are we honest in any case, through and through? I would suggest that we're not that often honest through and through. And then because there's how I behave. Those are the garments of self-expression. There's how I feel and how I perceive things, which is our intelligence and emotions. Those, right, beyond the way I express them in thought, speech, and action. And then there is the core essence of my soul. So here the Alter Rebbe says, interesting, that since the core essence of my soul has this love, and it's hidden, it's buried in my soul, it's covered over with the desires of the body and the animal soul that is totally selfish as opposed to selfless, and but yet it's there, and it is the truth of my soul. So now you might ask, okay, so it might be the truth of the core of my soul, but if I'm not really living it, not really feeling it, but I'm kind of meditating and thinking this truth, what practical help will that have? Even though you're, okay, so it's honest now. It's honest because it's the honest truth of the core of my soul. Okay, I'm not in tune with it, but if I'm not truly in tune with it, so what practical value does it have that I'm going to meditate, think about, that I am ready to do for God whatever He needs from me, and that's more important than life itself. Now you got to live life. You got to be, doesn't mean, don't throw yourself over the bridge, obviously, because that's not what God wants. But of course, you have to live. But in other words, that notion that that's more important. How is that going to be practical? So the Alter Rebbe says, well, the truth is, let's really be honest. Love, which this is a very deep love, obviously, or a profound and intense form of love, of bonding and connecting to God. It's not it's only a means to an end. All you need is love is a mistake, because that suggests that love is an end in itself. That would be kind of like worshiping love. You know why I love God? Because I love love. Well, that's how you love love. I mean, not that you love God. You love love. You love love, and you are love. So you're worshiping love. It's a form of idolatry. No, love is a means to an end. What's the mean? What's the end? The end is our behavior, thought, speech, and action. That we actually do what you got to do. So if this contemplation, then I'm ready to, rise above as the child is ready to, to put themselves in a place of danger because their devotion to their parents is greater than their own life, and put themselves in danger as a result, right? That's the metaphor. So here, The fact that I think this about God, that I'm ready to do beyond, above and beyond the value of life itself, since it's the truth of the soul, and it will bring something practical. What? Then I'm going to now think differently. I'm going to speak in a much more refined manner as a result of that, and act in a more uplifted, inspired, live more of an inspired life as a result of that. That itself is the value. So that meditation, that bond, that love that seems to be very intense and very profound and above the pay grade, so to speak, where we're at, will bring to something practical that will translate into action. And that's the most important thing about feelings. Feelings should translate into action. And that means that we'll, doing like we're doing right now, studying Torah. That's it. This is an action. Through the physical acts of mitzvahs, likewise, right? And how that reveal itself? Like, what is that notion? What does it mean that a child is serving the parent, and that service of the parent is more important than life itself? What that means to translate here is that to cause gratification, to give God pleasure, divine gratification, is more valuable than anything else. Right? Anything else. Now, again, it sounds like this is way above. We all want to have gratification. And this sounds way beyond, where we're holding. And again, the Alter Rebbe says it's not delusional, it's not dishonest, because it's the truth of our soul, even though we're not living with that truth in our heart. But at least what we're going to do is live with it in our behavior. That is phenomenal. The Alter Rebbe then continues on this idea, and he says, this is the whole idea that we actually learned previously in earlier chapters, in chapter 16, that the Talmud, our sages say that a good thought is joined by God to the deed, to provide it wings, to make it soar. Remember, wings are our divine, our human emotions of love and awe, that when we do something, a mitzvah, that we're not just doing it, but we have some kind of emotional engagement that it gives it wings to soar to the divine for eternity. Something we spoke about at great length earlier. That was actually in chapters 37 through 38 through 40. We spoke about that at length. So quoting this phrase from our sages in the Talmud, so the good thought is joined to the deed. What does that mean? So most people think that, when you have an intention to do a good deed, and you couldn't do it because something happened that didn't give you the opportunity to do it, so God considers as if you did it. Now the Rebbe says that that's not what it means, because the phraseology is not that kind of phraseology. As if you did. But here it says it's joined. The fact that it's joined, what does that mean? So the Alter Rebbe explains like this. The human condition is, what does it mean, human? Human means when you're standing upright. You're an upright person. Upright person. What does that mean? Well, your head is on top. Right? Your head is on top. Not like an animal's on fours. That, their intelligence and their instinct of their emotions are all on the same level. But being upright means your intelligence is on top, and then your intelligence, what you know and understand, the truth, feeds your heart that you should have some kind of feeling towards the truth that you know, the truth about God, the truth of a mitzvah, the truth of life. And it should feed your heart. That is, upright. And from feeding the heart, it gives you, then it moves your hands. Your hands are the expression of the love and awe that you have. That becomes now you're full of life. Then it brings you to action from that feeling. That's the normative way things should be, right? Likewise, if you understand how bad something is, so feeds your heart that you now have a fear for that bad thing. Fire is bad. You have a fear for it and you kind of step away. You don't put your hand on the element because of the fear you have that you're going to burn yourself and hurt yourself. That all comes from that's a simple metaphor, obviously, to explain how what we know, the awareness feeds our heart, and from the heart brings us to an action. So that's the normative way. But what happens if you know that this idea of serving God to give him gratification, give him divine gratification, as opposed to your own gratification? Again, as we said, we can know that, and we can know the truth of that. But the problem is, it's probably going to skip our heart. We'll understand it and with our mental cognition, but yet, is it going to feed our heart that we're really going to feel that in our hearts? That's not going to be so easy, and I don't suggest that we will truly have that feeling. So then I'm not upright because it didn't feed my heart and bring me to action. So the Alter Rebbe says that's what our sages say, that the good thought, in other words, we had this good thought in our heads, God joins it to the action to give it wings, even though I really didn't feel it in my heart. It's not dishonest, because it is maybe not in my heart, but it is in my soul that's hidden that love. It's there. I just don't feel it because this is a very lofty level of divine connection, and therefore God joins it, meaning the good thought, he joins it to deed and gives it wings of the love and awe. The wings are love and awe, right? That it can soar on high. Why? Because I thought about it. And I know that it's true. It's the truth of my soul, even though it may not be the truth of my heart. That's a very powerful idea. So this gratification, the Alter Rebbe says, is akin to a metaphor that we gave earlier in chapters 31 and 41, that the joy the son of the king, the prince, has in knowing that being liberated from prison, right? The metaphor, the prince is in prison, being liberated, and is overjoyed at the fact that coming home, I'm going to give such pleasure to my father the king that I have returned. He's released himself. Isn't that a pleasure? The pleasure to give to the king, his father, is a greater pleasure and a greater motivator. That's the metaphor. That's what it's akin to giving that gratification, or to give God the gratification that we're creating a home for him in this world. Be mindful of that. And again, even though we may not be able to bring it into our hearts, this notion, it may not be able to bring it in our hearts. That's okay. The fact that we meditate on it, we think it, this notion. Both the two kinds of love that we spoke about here today, this love that we spoke about today, and a couple of days ago we spoke about the other love, this love of the child who to do for the parent and to give gratification to the parent is more valuable and more important than their own being, their own life even. And what we spoke about previously, that God is my soul, he is my life. So in both things, that if we don't have that feeling, but we meditate upon it, since it is the truth of our soul, God joins it, and it rises on high. That is today's class. I know now that whoever can share that, what they've learned, I'd like those on Facebook in particular, but anybody else, if you could please express that because on my YouTube station, I use what you write. So it helps me, and more importantly, it helps you to summarize everything, to put into your own words, and to own what we learn. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts, any ideas here? I want to say hello to Sina, to Josh, Addie, Merle, Taryn, Michelle, and Bill and Baccia. And Lisa says, now I know now that my feelings to not really define me, and that my true self lies within my soul. Even if I have a good thought without the ability to do the action, God will still give it wings as though I had, because it is the truth of my soul. Very good. Thank you, Lisa. Very, very nice. Baccia. I know now that I have a higher level of love that I meditate on in my soul. It may not be in my heart for my emotions that gives Hashem a gratification. Beautiful. Thank you. So, this is really au contraire to Western society. Really au contraire to Western society when you think about it. Western society, it's about your feelings. Feelings it's kind of like God, What are you feeling? How are you feeling? How you feeling? What are you doing? How you doing? That should be really the question. How you doing? Not that sometimes we have to negate feelings. Sometimes we have to understand the feelings. But we don't live in our feelings. We live in our feelings. We're making them a god. That's idolatry. That's idolatry. And Western civilization lives in their feelings. This is how I feel. So that's real. That's really meaningful. That's my truth. No, that's your feelings. That's not truth. It's not even your truth. Because you got a soul that's much deeper, more profound than your feelings. And if you recognize that and recognize that that's your truth, maybe you're not living with that truth, but recognize at least that is your truth, that at least it should bring you to behave differently. So it's not how you feeling, it's how you doing. What are you doing with your life? How's your thought, speech, and action? Now you gotta be careful when you say that to people because, even though you may get it, they may be offended. Probably will be offended. But that's why you got to be careful. I'm teaching it so I can say this now. But if I was talking to somebody, I do take someone else's feelings seriously because that's part of my role and relationship with them is that, that's where they're at. So I take it seriously because I take them seriously. But as a teacher, as a mentor, that's a different story. Or as me, myself, for myself, to myself. I need to appreciate my feelings. I need to understand why I have those feelings, right? But I don't live in my feelings. I promise you, folks, if you take this seriously, what we just learned, you'll live a different life. Western civilization would be a different civilization. Because since my feelings are contrary to your feelings, therefore, it's really hard for us to get along based on feelings.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Go ahead, Vilma.
You're absolutely right that some people allow their feelings to rule their world, and that's not a good thing. You can't go around feeling and acting upon every single feeling. That is not healthy. And furthermore, you can't go around trying to make people feel what you feel. That is even less healthy. People can understand other people, but they can't feel what you feel. And furthermore, it is not healthy for emotional people to be running around destroying things or, acting out of their love and harassing other people. Like, you can't do that. Just because you have a feeling that's yours, you own it, you try to understand it, but you don't behave just out of all those feelings. That is not healthy.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. It's it's not healthy. But what I'm suggesting is I think most of us, most people do live in their feelings. Um, that doesn't mean necessarily they act upon them, upon others, what their feelings are. That, they have that much of a respect maybe for another that they don't act upon it. What I'm saying and what I'm suggesting is that in Western civilization, people are living in their feelings. Living in your feelings doesn't not mean that you're necessarily acting upon them, but that's your inner reality. That's where what your thoughts are based on on those feelings. Um, and we that's something we have to be careful, that we need to know that that's not, even though we will think about the things that we feel strongly about, that's for sure, there's no question, but we need to make sure that that doesn't be defined as my truth. It's my feelings, but it's not my real truth. I have a deeper truth, and that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here. I have a deeper truth in me. That deeper truth is that I have a soul that really has a love for God. So much so that it's ready to sacrifice. It's ready to do for God, to give him the gratification, to live in a way that it's not about my self gratification, but it's about the divine gratification I can give him. I might not feel that way, but you see, if I'm going to live with my feelings, so then this truth I will negate. And I'm suggesting that most people, they live in, and what I mean by live, what's real for them is their feelings. And what I'm saying is that our feelings are not our real truth. It is about a feeling that I'm having right now, but sometimes maybe that feeling is not a good feeling, and therefore I have to know that's not my truth. And I have to find the truth that's based on my soul and its truth. Its truth is, well, those negative feelings I'm feeling towards this person are not feelings I should have. So I'm not going to live it. I'm not going to live there. I'm going to rise above it. So yeah, yes, exactly, Vilma, what you said is very true. But I'm saying not necessarily just acting upon it, but even living there in our heads, so to speak. If that's clear.
Yes, it's hard to live if you're feeling intense feelings all the time. Of course, you're going to feel loss, you're going to feel grief, but there's a time that you take for that. You can't be living your entire life in that feeling. That's not a good thing. You can't even concentrate if you do that.
Yes. Josh, please share with us.
Thanks. I just had a question,
Sure.
and the question is, are there feelings that are associated with? I think we can obviously say that feelings can be associated with the Yetzer Hara, but what about the Yetzer Tov? Is there feelings for, like, how do we differentiate the feelings between?
Oh, very good question. Excellent question. Sometimes we have really good feelings. So what does that mean? We shouldn't live in those feelings? Well, actually, in the end, thank you for bringing that up, Josh. In the end, we shouldn't even live in those feelings, because the whole point of the feeling is to bring us to action. So how do I know? Very good. Thank you for bringing this up, Josh, because it really will help bring clarity. How do we know that, first of all, this is a good feeling or a bad feeling? So as Josh is asking, that it's coming from a good inclination or the evil inclination. So very simple. What action does it bring you to? If it brings you to a thought, speech, and action that is in accordance to what God needs me to act, then I know it came from a good place. And the fact that it brought me to action is further proof, because if it's about the feeling and I live in the feeling, Well, if you live in the feeling, then not necessarily that's going to bring to action. If you know that the feeling is only a means to an end that brings you to action, to do something good, to do a mitzvah, so then that will be a testament of the fact that that was a healthy, good feeling where it came from. Whereas if obviously if it brings me to inaction, or if it brings me to a negative action, then I know what inclination was speaking to me, and what where I was living in my with my emotions. Does that help, Josh? Does that clarify things?
Yes, thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you for that question. It really, for me, and I'm sure for everybody else, also brought clarity. Beautiful. So Deborah says, I know now that my journey of discovery, researching many faiths, looking for the God that my heart and soul cherishes and loves deeply, is truly loving and gracious, as I always believed existed. All right. Thank you for sharing. Who else? Marty, I know now that our feelings are only a small reflection of our soul purpose. We can be affected by emotions or influenced by the truth of God. So take our choices seriously. Very good. Thank you. All right. Anybody have a question here on? Anna has a question. Are there garments of feelings? I mean, levels of feelings, and true feeling is the love toward God. Okay, so thank you, Anna. Very good question. So feelings, emotions, let's call them emotions right now, okay, as opposed to feelings. Emotions are before you have any kind of language or thought about it. You have an emotion towards chocolate, right? Now, until you see chocolate or think chocolate, you will not express that emotion, but you have an emotion towards it. You have an emotion towards a loved one, right? Hopefully love. Sometimes it might be the opposite because I had an expectation and they blew it, and now I'm really, So you have an emotion, even if you're not thinking about them. Why do we think what we think? It's because we have a strong emotion, whether for love, fear, hate. Those are the emotions, the strong ones, that we will think about that. Thinking is already a garment. That's already self-expression. Expression in thought is to yourself. Expression of speech is to another. Expression of action is not just to another, but to the world. Impact on the world even, right? So garments, just like garments, give an expression of the individual, express the individual. So likewise, our thought, speech, and action are an expression of our perception, our intelligence, and an expression of our emotions. I hope that clarified, Anna. So when we speak about, we can have love of God in my soul, I can have love of God that is in my heart, but it is hidden in my heart, that can be revealed at a certain moment in thought, speech, and action. It can be expressed in that way. Rena is asking, what about the feelings of intuition, like if something's going to happen? Got to be careful with that. Because if it's a bad thing, get it out of your head. If you have an intuition for something bad, get it out of your head. Like you're going to travel and God forbid something's going to happen bad. No, don't ponder that, because negative thoughts bring negative realities. Positive thoughts bring Good. I hope that helped. Shakem. If we are human beings and we feel we may be blinded by emotions and not feel what really is needed, we can be fooled by them. Is there a recipe other than meditation? We may be fooled by the emotion of selfness and happiness. Oh, very good. Thank you, Jacques. So the recipe for me is study Torah. When you study Torah, it uplifts your soul and brings you to a more objective, true reality in your headspace, at least. And then think about, this is what I do, and I say maybe some Tehillim, some Psalms from King David to uplift also my heart. And then I think, okay, God, what do you need from me in this difficult situation? That's personally what I do. Again, what I do is when I'm in a challenged place and difficult place, that my heart might be, singed with something negative. What I try to do, and not necessarily I do all these three things. Sometimes yes, sometimes I might just do one of them. Study Torah, because then that gets your headspace out of self and into, divine wisdom. Prayer of King David's Psalms, Tehillim, gets your heart more attuned. And then just think, okay, God, what do you want from me? What do you need from me? Sometimes another thing I might do is I would just start a freiliche niggin. I would start a very joyous melody, Hasidic melody, just to turn on a dime from something that might be negative inside of me, and just to make a complete switch around by singing a Hasidic melody with the full awareness that, I got to focus on that and not on the negativity that I might be feeling in my heart. I hope that helped. It definitely helps me.
Well, Rabbi, that's awesome. I think some people have more trouble with their feelings than others. It takes a while to master anything, So talking about this is important, but, other people might need other, methods of help.
If anybody else has any other methods, feel free to share. What methods work for you? I'm just expressing what works for me. If anybody else has something, Batya.
Hi, good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
You suggested a book before, and I've read it, and I'm reading it again right now, and it really discusses positivity in negative situations, but it's not just negative situations. It has to do with our thought process. And this book is called Positivity Bias, and what it is, it really does help put in perspective with negative situations, seeing the positive in it, whether it's a situation or even a person. A lot of times we get caught up in our emotions and not really seeing the person or situation for what it really is, and actually seeing that there is a positive side to it.
Very true. Thank you for sharing that. Very true. Anybody else have something to please share with us?
So I think that works for a lot of people. I know the book she's talking about, it's talked about a lot because it's a book from Exodus, and I read a whole lot. But I know that people who are clinically depressed or feeling like extremes, you have to seek help medically or, from other people.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that, Vilma. Right. Someone who's, got a clinical depression, there's definitely medical help that is necessary. And of course, that's beyond the scope over here. So absolutely, that's important. That still being said, there are many people who may have some kind of, mental, emotional imbalance issues and so on. And the truth is, we all do on some level and some degree. So it's really, um, many shades over here that, you know, incorporating this into our lives, as we said, um, can help, and it may make all the difference, may make only a partial difference. Another thing, actually, to add to what we've mentioned is, there's Hayom Yom, a thought of the day from the Rebbe, that when you have something in your heart, so and I don't remember there's a word Yisachena, so the word Yisachena can mean talk it over. Yisachena can also mean work it through. So if you can work it through, sometimes we have the strength to work things through on our own. Like I mentioned, something I can do myself often by learning Torah, saying some Tehillim, thinking about what Hashem wants from me in this moment, and to try to be very honest with myself. But sometimes that's not sufficient. You're in a place that you need to talk it over with someone. You need a mentor. So it's something that the Rebbe has mentioned, and all of us, we should have a mentor in our lives. We should have a good friend in our lives. Someone that if there is something, that you can call them and speak to them and talk it through. And that they will be there, not just as a listening board, so they'll be your yes man. That's not, not your yes man, that what I'm feeling is, is what I'm feeling is the truth, and what I did is right. That's not what your mentor is there for. Your mentor is maybe to give the objective view on things, and not to just to be a sounding board so I could decide for myself. No, that's not a proper mentor. Proper mentor means someone that you're actually going to listen to. As the Rebbe says, in making a selach harav, making yourself that mentor, that mashpia, means that you're going to give yourself over, knowing that love is blind, and you're blind about yourself. We all have a blind spot about ourselves, and therefore, at times, we can't get beyond that. We need that mentor. So yes, the book is great, by the way, by no, what's his name? It'll come to me. The book is great, and is definitely something worthwhile reading. Positivity biased. We should all be biased positively. And as I mentioned, there's so many different, there's several ways on how we can deal with the negativity, the challenges, that we have inside of us. Okay, that was great. So Rena says, I didn't mean thinking a negative thought and feeling and trying to change it, but to get out of your mind. I was more thinking about women's intuition. A woman's intuition. Oh, okay, that's a different thing. You have an intuition about a person and so on. We have to be careful. It depends on what, if it's an intuition, like, you are trying to find a soulmate for your child, as we have done for 9 of our children and working on our 10th to find a soulmate for them. They go out and they decide, when they go out, if they're interested in, to carry it further, to get married. But, we help to find the person that they can first go out with. So if you have an intuition in that respect, for example, about this guy or girl, yeah, that's fine. If that's what the intuition is, for example. If you have an intuition about, maybe I shouldn't do business with this person, that's what my intuition tells me, fine. That if that's what you mean. Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't. Yeah, it doesn't mean you disregard intuition. Yes, if that's what you mean, Rena. Yes, there is something there. Denise, Davida, where does our ego fit into this? Is it part of our feelings or animal soul? Well, feelings is animal soul. Ego is also a part of that. Um, um, so if it's ego, then it's coming from a negative place because then it's all about me and filling me up more ego and more ego. So, I guess, what the thought, speech, and action will be indicative of where it's coming from. Remember, the judgment will be, for ourselves at least, of what kind of practical behavior and actions did this feeling lead to. That will be the indication. I hope that makes it clear. Davida. What do you say to someone who is dividing or bullying? So I got to tell you a story. Just happened. Names will be changed to protect the non-innocent and innocent. There was someone who was being bullied. And no name. And it came to my attention in school, in schoolyard, right? Playing during recess. Came to my attention. So I see the one who bullied, and I get into a conversation. How school is and what's going on and different things, whatever. And then I say to that child, not a little child, but how's your Ahavas Yisrael? This is in a Jewish school, how's your love for another Jew? Took a deep breath. He took a deep breath and kind of felt, I don't know, definitely felt something. Felt like, something penetrated, impacted. And I let him go. I let it seep in. And then I came back afterwards. It was very friendly and so on. So I could have, approached the person about the bullying because I'm kind of in a position that I could do that in the relationships that were there. I could have done it, but I wanted to make an impact and to rise and help to raise this person to some greater heights, not to embarrass them, not to make them want to fight back or to rationalize it away, but how is your love for another? That's how I dealt with it. I hope it was impactful and works, and we'll find out. All right. Greg, is intuition similar to empathy? I don't know. Not certain if it is. Maybe. I mean, I guess, if you have empathy, then you'll be more intuitive about, there's probably some relationship there. Okay. I think I've answered all the questions there. Anybody here on Clubhouse like to share something? Noe, Merle, Addie, Sina, Dave, Dana. All right. On Instagram. As Miriam says, the source of ahava, love, is hav, which means give. That's right. Give, and give some more. Very good, thank you. Vilma. Oh,
I know
it's
that
Yanni.
book you're talking about is from the teachings of the Lubavitcher Reed by
Ready?
Mendel
Right.
Kalmanson.
Yes.
Yeah, I might get that one. I have so many books that I bought, Rabbi. I even bought the 23 chapter volumes of the Zohar. I bought the Sefer Yehira Book of Creation. Oh my God, I'm just so excited. Like, for some people, reading is really like a transformative process.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. So, Adi, please share with us.
Hi. So I found really interesting the example that you just gave of how you dealt with the situation, not speaking to them directly about the situation, which is very hard for me not to do as an autistic person. It's not natural for me to do things that way. I feel like for me, I feel like it's manipulating someone. This is just my logic. That me not telling someone something directly and trying to make them like understand something that I could just tell them directly, for me, that feels manipulative. Can you help me not see it that way? Because the way that you just described it, like, you know, it didn't sound manipulative at all. You said how, you know, you weren't trying to humiliate them, which is obviously, I guess, a possibility when you're telling someone something directly, or for them to also not get defensive and fight back, you mentioned, which I find something happens a lot. When I'm trying to communicate with people, I will tell them, you know, like what I'm seeing and or what's going on or whatever, and I'm doing it just out of a place of like the same emotion that you're bringing, you know, but people understand it like that, like they'll get defensive or they'll feel bad. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's not, you know, just to say what's on your heart and your feelings, you know, that's easy because you just say what's there. It may not be wise. It may not be productive. May not make an impact, but definitely it's easier. Um, I guess if we're committed to the well-being, see if it's only you want to express your feelings and where you're at, and it's about you, so then it's going to be a very difficult challenge. But if we can get into a headspace again, and I repeat this over and over, what am I needed for? Well, I'm not just needed to express my feelings and my hurt and my pain. That's not what I'm you know, I wasn't created for that. I was created for to make a positive impact. So if I have that sensibility and that mind, that awareness, and I try to live with that, then you'll try to find the words that will express it. If I'm kind of devoted to my own selfhood and my self-preservation, um, then yeah, I'm just going to say it the way I feel it, because I'm kind of, you know, dedicated to my emotional self-preservation, my mental and physical sense of self-preservation, and then I will express things in that way. But if I'm dedicated to something that transcends that, not what I need, but what I'm needed for, then you know what? God's going to give you the words. He's going to give you the way. He's going to give you the things that you need to say, because you are indeed living a greater truth. I hope that resonates, and I hope that helps. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Addie. All right, folks, we are going to conclude. We're going to conclude today, but we will continue on Sunday. Sundays are, by the way, at 10:30. We will continue our conversation. We'll continue our learning together. A reminder that we have an amazing JLI course that's coming up if you want about Mashiach. And just to tell you how amazing it is, the belief that the world is going to become a world of good, a world of truth, not a world of lies, which it is right now. You have to, see beyond the darkness and the lies. But it's becoming that. It's getting there, and it's going to get there. If you don't have that notion and don't really feel that that's your truth, boy, do you need to come to this. And if you do already believe that the world is evolving towards that times of Mashiach, a redeemed world, which will literally be peace on earth, that will be merely a consequence of the truth. No more famine. If that's something that is visceral for you and real for you, that this is the truth that is unfolding and that we're marching towards, then for sure you got to come and study this 6-week course with me or someone else that's giving it from JLI. Other Chabad rabbis are doing it. And if it's already something that is a part of your life, this will make it so much more meaningful, because you'll have so much more understanding and awareness and feeling towards it. And most important, action towards that. JLI, Montreal.com. It doesn't work when you put it up. You cannot put that up on your on Facebook or Instagram. They don't let you put anything like that. So go there. You can find more information. You can see the trailer. You can see the course outline. You can sign up. There's a cost for it. There's a book that you get with it. But definitely something I strongly suggest that you will gain immensely from. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad, Zichron Kedoshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you. Tanya, have a wonderful day, the rest of the day, and Erev Shabbos, a wonderful Shabbos, and we'll see you on Sunday. Be well. Thank you.
Good Shabbos to all.